All right, guys, now to protect routes based on login is not as straightforward as it was in the Angular course if you guys took that using Angular Fire and so on, because with Angular you have more to the framework to work with to build guards and stuff like that. You have services and it's a little different. With React, you have to do kind of everything on your own, or you have to find a separate package to help you with it. So to implement this, we're going to just add some custom code, and there's actually a really nice, what I guess they call routing recipe to be able to do this. And this is actually part of the react-redux firebase documentation. It's in react-redux firebase /doc/recipes/routing. So there's actually a couple ways to do it. You can do it by the component if you want to protect a certain page or component, but I don't want to do that. I want to do it with the router. Okay, I want to protect it by route. So there's recipes for let's see, we're going to need this Redux Auth wrapper, but there's recipes for with React Router version 4, which is what we're using. And then actually we want, let's see, React Auth wrapper version 2, React Auth wrapper version 1. Okay, so we need to install React Auth wrapper, or I'm sorry, Redux Auth wrapper. Yeah. And then, yeah, this is for version 3 and earlier. So basically, we need this code right here. So what I'm going to do is open up VS Code, or go back to VS Code, and I'm going to install the Redux Auth wrapper package. So I'm going to go to a different terminal. I'm going to let my server run, and I'm going to do npm install redux-auth-wrapper. And that's the thing about React is, you know, like I said, you have a different package for everything. And it's a library. It's not a framework like Angular where you have a whole bunch of things built into it. You have to kind of search for your own solutions. So now that that's set up, let me just switch this back to my server. And what we want to do is, instead of putting all that code in app.js, because we're going to have to implement it with our routes down here, but instead of cluttering this up, I'm going to create a new folder outside of components called helpers. You could technically call it anything you want, but I'm just going to call it helpers, and I'm going to create a file called auth.js. Okay, so it's an authentication helper. And then what I'm going to do is go back to that documentation page, and we're going to grab all of this. So Redux Auth wrapper version 2, let's just make sure that's what we're using. If we look in package.json, yeah, that's what we're using right here, version 2. So, and of course we're using React Router version 4. So I'm going to grab all this. And this will if you can't find this documentation page, I mean, or if it's not here for some reason, you can go to the code in the first video of this project and you can just grab it from there. So we're going to paste this in. So we're basically bringing in some stuff from Redux Auth wrapper, the location helper builder. We're bringing in this connected router redirect, loading screen. Okay, so loading screen, it says change it to your custom component. We're actually going to use the spinner component for this. So we're going to say components / layout / not sidebar, spinner. Okay, so that's going to be our loading screen. Oops, I forgot the quote. And then let's see, we initialize location helper. And then we basically have two methods here. You have user is authenticated and user is not authenticated. Now, one thing we want to do here is get rid of this right here, because we're not dispatching. We don't have this unauthed redirect in our state. That's not something we have. So I'm going to just get rid of this redirect action right here, and then that comma, and then same thing here. Get rid of this redirect action, and then this stuff can all stay the same. We want to redirect to login, or redirect path, login, user is authenticated, user is not authenticated. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else we have to change here. So this should do it. Now we are exporting both of these. User is authenticated and is not authenticated. So we should be able to import these into our app.js and then implement them into our router. So let's save this file. And again, if you want to copy the code, you can get it from the files in the first video. But let's go back to, not navbar, we want to go back to our app.js, our main file here. And let's see, we want to bring in, we'll go right here below where we brought in the router stuff, and we'll say import user, actually let's use our IMP tab, and we want, this is coming from ./helpers/auth, and then let's go over here, and it should then see, or I guess not. I thought it would pop up. So user is authenticated, and oh, you know what? Because we need to do this. There we go. So now it pops up. So user is authenticated and user is not authenticated. We're bringing both of those in, and then what we need to do is when we have a component like, let's say, the dashboard, where the user has to be authenticated for this, we just need, all we have to do is wrap this now inside of user is authenticated. Okay, so we want to just wrap that inside of that like that. So any route that we want the user to be authenticated, we wrap in that. So let's see, add client, that's another one we want the user to be authenticated. So let's do that. Edit client is another one. We'll wrap that. Client details, another one. Now login is the opposite. We only want them to go to login if they're not authenticated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it in. I'm going to change it to user is not authenticated and wrap login. Did I do this right? Yeah. So parentheses should go inside of the curly braces. Okay, and I think that should work. I think it should give us the functionality that we want. So let's go back. And right now we are logged in, so I'm going to hit log out, and it brings us back to login. Now if I try to go to /dashboard, actually, wait, /dashboard isn't a route. What am I doing? If I try to go to just the home, which is the dashboard, the index page, it brings us back. If I try to go to, what is it? Client/add. If I try to go there, it brings me back. Good, so that's how it should be working. Now if I log in, it's going to take us to the last route I tried to get to, which is really cool. It's not by default just going to kick us to the dashboard. If we try to go to client/add and it doesn't let us, and then we log in, it brings us to client/add. So that's a good piece of functionality, rather than just always bringing you to the dashboard. It brings you where you want it to go. Now at the same time, I shouldn't be able to go to login now because I am logged in. So if I go to login, it boots me back to the dashboard. Perfect. All right, so now that we have that all set, I can log out. Now that we have that all set, what do we want to do next? So I think now that authentication is all set, what I want to do is implement the notify state. Okay, so I want to be able to, when we have a bad login here, I don't want just the stupid JavaScript alert. I want it to have a nice bootstrap component here, a nice alert that shows instead, and I want to be able to use that anywhere we want. So we'll have a notify reducer with some actions. And then we'll also create a custom alert component to put in there to show the alert. All right, so we'll do that next.